Plenty was formally started in 1976, but really it began years before that. A group of people that were working together. A lot was going on. There was a global movement.
Some of what really appealed to me about Plenty Canada were the values that it applies to its international development work.
That's why we're kind of spreading that knowledge around in the community so that you know, they don't totally lose track of their you know, their background. Instead of just talking about what we used to do, they're going to be out there doing it.
So a few of us got together, did little things, helped other organizations, and then finally said, hey, there's a niche for us.
I was really taken up by the commitment they had for third world developing countries, and especially when they told me about how they went to Guatemala when there was an hurricane, earthquake I think, and they were there to build houses, and that they helped.
So you had indigenous peoples working with peoples of other cultures, and recognizing that you need to bring the strengths of all of those cultures forward, and that we said, hey, there's plenty to go around. I think a number of dynamics were happening. You know, the world was changing in terms of the relationship of its indigenous peoples to nation states. You know, big changes in North America. There were all kinds of environmental and social movements that were given birth during that time. They all influenced Plenty.
Particularly impressed that the organization really worked on a local level, people-to-people level, community-to-community base, with no respect to any particular religious affiliation or any kind of a desire to change the local people that they work with, no matter where it was, whether it was in Africa or Central America or in Sri Lanka or in Canada with Aboriginal peoples for that matter. So it's those values that really appeal to me, because it seems like it's a very rational, common sense based development organization. And so in that respect, they do a lot of good without doing any harm. And I think that's very, very important for an organization like this. And I think it has a lot of appeal to a lot of Canadians.
Plenty Canada has evolved over the course of its history. Like many organizations, you start out with a certain amount of theory, and then you put it into practice, and obviously you adapt it as a result of that experience. But I think the core values of what have carried us through challenging times, and they sustain us to this day.
Plenty Canada has done some revolutionary work as far as I'm concerned, particularly being out in front of the rest of the field, if you will. Particularly remember the work that Plenty has done in Lesotho, within South Africa, and the gravity-fed water systems there, providing potable water to thousands of Africans. Was amazing. The agroforestry projects that were taking place also to provide wood as fuel for cooking, for construction, and also to prevent erosion. That was really amazing stuff. And Plenty, you know, before anybody was even thinking about this stuff really seriously, Plenty was using photovoltaics on its village technology training center in Lesotho. So it was really amazing work. It was really designed to be sustainable, building off of the strengths of local culture. That was and continues to be an amazing piece of work.
The important thing is that we took those core values of respecting traditional knowledge, using appropriate technology, blending the two to achieve better environmental performance. In the case of Lesotho, we built Matsamocha, which is a village training and technology center. We used the traditional rondavel, a round structure, quarried sandstone, which is what people were doing. It was that or import cement blocks at a fairly significant cost. We built them thicker to improve the thermal mass. That meant that they stayed cooler in summer, warmer in winter. Large north-facing windows there in the southern hemisphere, advanced solar gain. There were still a few roof thatchers around, and so we were able to employ them with young people to preserve those traditions. And what they found, they had been using aluminum roofing, and there were all kinds of problems with it environmentally. Yeah, it went up quick, but it just didn't perform nearly as well as the thatched roof. And so that very interesting blend of technologies, along with photovoltaic panels, electricity, and our gravity-fed water systems, community gardens, that blend at the technology center, it was amazing how villagers would come, see, they could see it working. You know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a functioning ecosystem and technologies in action is worth 10,000 words. Sri Lanka is a case of where the Canadian International Development Agency and Sri Lankans actually came to us and asked us to come and help out. They did this for a number of years. We've said no, we got our plates full. Finally, we said yes. And interestingly enough, we made contact with a Muttiah Jayabalan in Sri Lanka. And this project focused on dealing with the nutritional needs of Sri Lankans, but in particular, women and children. It addressed the needs that emerged from the tea estates, and that the nutritional needs are significant.
Soybean is one of the leguminous crops which has the highest protein of 40% and 30% of oil. Now we have been growing soybean in Sri Lanka, and there was from University of Illinois, they were doing a lot of trials and also product development. But it was not reaching the farmer level, you see. They were all on research. But here Plenty Canada was taking the research to meet the needs of the farmers and the housewives, you see. So that protein is one of the things which is essential and which is expensive in Sri Lanka, especially the animal protein, like the chicken, the fish and mutton and all that is very expensive.
But while we're developing this project, Jayabalan, or Jay as we know him to this day, ended up being driven out of the country. He was the highest ranking Tamil in the Sri Lankan government, and the tensions were at a peak. So Jayabalan comes to Canada, CETA lets us know, and so we invite him to come talk to us about possibly leading the project for Plenty Canada.
So to improve the nutrition, the best way is to grow high protein crop and use that and incorporate that high protein into the foods of the people who are used to it. So we were not bringing in a new product. We were trying to incorporate the soya product into the products which they were making.
The circumstances in the country actually deteriorated. There was a great deal of violence at the time. It was not easy to deliver a project, but this project focused around soy and growing soy, using it for food, adapting it to the cultural preferences, the diet of Sri Lankans, and
and Sri Lankans were very involved, of course, in doing just that. In fact, they did a brilliant job. They did such a brilliant job that the project eventually became a huge commercial success.